A U.S. F-35 Lightning II was intercepted by Venezuelan Su-30 jets, sparking a tense air confrontation. Stay with us as we reveal what happened in this dramatic encounter.
October 28, 2025, 9:10 a.m., Caribbean Sea. A glassy silence covered the entire horizon. Coastal radar stations near La Guaira, Venezuela, lit up. Their screens lit up as they detected a steel ghost streaking through the atmosphere at Mach 1.2. Graceful, agile, unmistakable. It was a $92 million American F-35 Lightning II, a perfect stealth silhouette, cutting through contested airspace while transmitting gigabytes of real-time data every second live back to the Pentagon. On paper, it was just a routine patrol, but in reality, it was the first tremor of a confrontation the world was not yet ready to witness. Convinced that the presence of the U.S. fighter jets was a violation of its airspace, Venezuela launched Operation Bolivar, an urgent intercept mission that was both a warning and a test of strength. Two Su-30 Mk-2V flankers were ordered to take off, each carrying $8 million worth of missiles, ready to lock on and fire if necessary. This was no longer a routine encounter in the sky. It was a direct attack on the aircraft protecting the $6 billion U.S. trade route, a maritime artery that runs from Miami to New Orleans, where every tanker or container carries economic power and national influence. The estimated damage has reached $4 billion. The United States immediately responded. The destroyer USS Valor, DDG-125, activated the emergency launch procedure. 5 SM-6 missiles left the platform, drawing white streaks of light in the sky, while 2 FA-18E Super Hornets were dispatched from the nearest aircraft carrier strike group. What seemed like a local incident has now turned into a real clash between the two countries. Can two Venezuelan Su-30 Mk-2V flankers, export-class fighters, take down the world's most advanced stealth fighter? Or will that action trigger a devastating counterattack from the United States? Let's find out what really happened. October 28, 2025, 9:10 a.m., local time. The Caribbean Sea is impossibly calm. Its waters shimmer like molten silver, reflecting the cloudless blue sky. But through the calm is one of America's most dangerous sentinels. The $92 million F-35A Lightning II, codenamed Viper 1, slid silently through the air like a ghost made of steel and code. Its mission is clear: patrol every mile of ocean, protecting the $6.4 billion worth of American shipping, stretching from Miami to New Orleans, where every cargo ship, every drop of oil is the lifeblood of the American economy. This is not just a patrol flight, it is the very image of modern deterrence. Every second, the F-35's radar scans 400 meters of airspace, tracking more than 127 ships scattered throughout the Caribbean. From an altitude of 32,000 feet, its integrated sensor system transmits 2.8 gigabytes of data per second straight to the Pentagon's Joint Operations Center, a living nerve that connects the skies to the command center. If anything unusual appears, a single encrypted signal will wake up the USS Valor, DDG-125, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer 150 nautical miles away, equipped with 96 vertical missile launch tubes and a crew of 327. The USS Valor's firepower is greater than Venezuela's entire northern fleet combined. With just a single encrypted signal from the F-35, the entire $800 million arsenal can be activated in less than 8 minutes. 9:22 a.m. The first unusual phenomenon appears. Venezuelan coastal radar technicians near La Guaira detect a weak but sharp signal, traveling at Mach 1.2 to 245 miles off the coast. On the radar screen, it is just a small blip, but in modern warfare, even a blip is enough to start an irreversible chain reaction. The signal flashed across the screen like a heartbeat, one that could not be ignored. Within 90 seconds, the coded warnings raced through the network, first to Fuerza Bolivariana Air Base, then, obediently, straight to President Nicolas Maduro Moros in Miraflores Palace. On his screen, there was only one image, a gray silhouette labeled F-35 Lightning II, hovering near what Caracas had declared a restricted sea area. In that room, amid red lights and strained voices, the verdict was delivered, immediate, decisive, loaded with ideology and national honor. This is not a routine patrol. he told his officers, his voice low and firm. "It is a provocation." Outside, the Caribbean Sea sparkled as if it had never been troubled. But inside the command centers, from Caracas to the destroyer USS Valor, warning sounds echoed through the steel corridors. The storm was breathing. It was 9:30 a.m. Inside Miraflora's palace, the air was thick, heavy as the moisture before a tropical storm. President Nicolas Maduro Moros, surrounded by his generals, looks at a blurry radar image, a US F-35 drifting near Venezuela's northern border. For him, it's no longer spying. It's a challenge. "They want to test our resolve," he says slowly. "Then let them see. The sky still belongs to us." 9:42 a.m. General Lenin Lorenzo Ramirez Vilas Mile, commander of the Venezuelan Air Force, gave the order. Emergency sortie. At Fuerza Aérea Bolivariana Air Base, the two AL-31F engines ignited, producing more than 27,000 pounds of thrust, shaking the ground and shaking hangars for miles around. Two Su-30MK 2V flankers were ordered to take off, each worth $50 million, carrying 8,000 pounds of ordnance. The mission was dubbed Bolivar's Wing, a symbolic name as Caracas intended it to send a defensive lesson to anyone who dared to violate its airspace. Within 12 minutes, two Venezuelan fighters were off the runway, gliding across the Caribbean Sea at Mach 1.5. One was armed with radar-guided R-27R missiles used to lock onto long-range targets. The other was equipped with an R-73 heatseeker, designed for close-in dogfights. The onboard radar system, though nearly 20 years behind the F-35, was still persistently scanning the horizon, searching for ghosts in the sky that the naked eye could not see. 10:08 a.m. Venezuelan radar stations picked up both Su-30s as they closed in on the American target, 54 nautical miles northeast of Puerto Cruz. The atmosphere in the control room went from busy to suffocatingly quiet. Every breath was swallowed by the hum of the transmitter. At the same time, in the F-35 Lightning II, the Viper 1 pilot noticed two faint heat spots approaching, unidentified, traveling at over 900 miles per hour. His voice remained calm, but his finger tapped twice on the emergency transmitter. "Two enemy targets approaching, requesting immediate verification and support." The encrypted signal raced through the air, crossing 150 nautical miles in just 0.7 seconds, and was received directly at the USS Valor's Combat Information Center. Inside the destroyer's thick armor, red warning lights flashed. The countdown to confrontation had begun, but in the pilot's mind, there was only one question that kept repeating. Are the Venezuelans just showing off their strength, or are they really preparing for war? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 10:15 a.m. Over the Caribbean sky, the air began to move. Two Su-30MK 2Vs soared through the clouds like two flaming spears, plunging from 22,000 feet, their afterburners blazing like red fireworks. Their massive heat signatures made Venezuela's radar screens glow as if they were on fire. The US F-35 Lightning II, codenamed Viper 1, was now alone in the air. 54 nautical miles from land, 150 nautical miles from the USS Valor. Inside the stealth cockpit, all the warning lights were flashing red. On the display screen, the pilot saw two fire dots approaching at Mach 1.4, closing the distance by 1,600 feet per second. The lead Venezuelan plane, the Su-30 Red Falcon, gently banked its wings, adjusting its angle to lock onto the target. His wingman, the Iron Hawk, was ready to deliver the killing blow. Target lock confirmed. The Venezuelan pilot shouted in Spanish, 10:16 a.m., two medium-range R-27R missiles, each worth $250,000, left the launcher at Mach 4.5. Their guidance seekers glowed white-hot, tearing through the thin air over the Caribbean. From a distance of 30 miles, they would reach their targets in less than 12 seconds. The F-35 pilot reacted in a split second. He banked left, dove down to 7,000 feet, dropping flares and decoys in rapid succession, flashing bright flashes in the clouds. The first missile passed less than 90 feet, 27 meters, exploding in a shock wave that toppled the jet onto its side. The second didn't give up. The plane's sensors showed a tightening lock. In a desperate move, the Viper 1 flipped over again, but the warhead tracked the right wing. The explosion ripped off half the flap, blowing away $11 million worth of composite panels in an instant. At 10:17 a.m., the cockpit was filled with warning sirens. Hydraulic pressure dropped to 23%, Engine temperature soared to 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit, 730 degrees Celsius. The pilot knew, seconds before the lightning died. He pressed the emergency button and spoke into the microphone. Steady but critical. Mayday. Aircraft hit. Coordinates transmitting. Prepare to descend. The encrypted signal traveled across the satellite network, reaching the USS Valor's Combat Information Center in less than a second. As the F-35 began to lose altitude, the fuel line ruptured, leaving a long white trail of vapor, a scar of war etched into the Caribbean sky. From 25 miles away, Venezuelan radar picked up a flashing distress signal that faded away. Target destroyed, the controller confirmed. Cheers rang out in the command bunker. For them, it was a victory. But for the Americans on the USS Valor, it was a declaration of war. The Hunter was wounded, and the response would be beyond description. The distress signal reached the American destroyer. But what happened next? Beyond anyone's imagination. Watch, because the coming American response was something the world had never seen before. 10:20 a.m. The distress signal from Viper. One hit the USS Valor, like electricity through steel. Inside the combat center, every panel flashed crimson. Rear Admiral Marcus Hale stared at the tactical display. Two Su-30 Mk-2Vs were retreating west, confident that they had taken out the $92 million US F-35. His voice echoed over the engine and warning sirens. They fired first. Now we're going to finish it. Within 2 minutes, Operation Iron Reply was approved. USS Valor's 96 vertical launch tubes opened their hatches. Lock on. Prepare to launch. Two Su-30s 47 nautical miles off the Venezuelan coast. At 10:28 a.m., 5 RIM 174 SM-6 Standard Interceptor missiles lifted off the launch pad, each weighing 1,400 kilograms, traveling at Mach 3.5, guided by the Valor's SPY-6 radar, capable of tracking 500 targets simultaneously. From the Venezuelan cockpit, a radar warning siren sounded.
Incoming! Madre, multiple target lock!
The commanding pilot shouted. Both Su-30s banked hard to the left, fired flares, and performed a 9G roll to break the lock. One dived into the clouds at 8,540 meters. The other tried to gain altitude, but the missiles kept coming. Too fast, too many. The first SM-6 exploded 18 meters from the Red Falcon, shattering the tailplane. The second hit the fuselage at 2,600 miles per hour, turning the jet into a halo in midair. The Iron Hawk tried to retaliate, firing a desperate R-73, but its guidance system was jammed by the USS Valor's ANSLQ-32V7. The third and fourth SM-6S followed, closing the gap in less than 14 seconds. The cockpit burst into flames. 2 seconds later, debris fell into the Caribbean Sea. The $100 million Su-30 was reduced to ashes. But Admiral Hale was not done yet. Attack the nest. Immediately after the order, 2 FA-18E Super Hornets took off from the USS George Washington, 210 miles from the battlefield. Each was carrying AGM-88 HARM and AGM-154 JSOW warheads, a total of 5 warheads, enough to destroy a large airbase. 10:35 a.m. The 2 Hornets dived into Fuerza Once, a Boulevardiana airbase. The cockpit radar warning system blared as it locked on. Then 5 streams of fire shot through the clouds and hit the base. The violent explosions caused the hangar to collapse, the fuel tank to burst into flames, and the runway to be torn apart. The temperature of the fire exceeded 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, taking 185 soldiers and technicians with it in an instant. When the smoke cleared, the entire Caracas radar went dark, leaving a heavy silence. The operation lasted 15 minutes, cost $45 million, and destroyed $100 million in enemy weapons. From the bridge of the USS Valor, Admiral Hale said quietly, "Mission accomplished. 2 targets down. Base disabled. Let the world know. America never loses its wings." 12 noon. Silence has fallen over the Caribbean. The echoes of war have faded, leaving only black smoke billowing from the ruined airbase and the charred remains of 2 Su-30 Mk-2Vs floating on the water. An hour ago, Venezuela was celebrating its victory. Now it faces the most costly mistake in military history. When rescue ships from Puerto La Cruz arrived on the scene, there was nothing left to recover. Only 2 8-kilometer-long oil slicks remained. Satellite images confirmed the utter devastation. 2 $100 million aircraft, a $350 million base, and 185 soldiers were wiped out in minutes. The explosions were so intense that a U.S. infrared satellite in low orbit 400 kilometers away recorded a temperature spike of 1,270 degrees Celsius. On the USS Valor, the mood was calm but determined. Rear Admiral Marcus Hale reviewed the final report: 5 SM-6, 2 FA-18Es, 5 precision strikes, cost $45 million. In return, the U.S. demonstrated unparalleled air-sea coordination. The Viper 1 pilot was found alive at 11:56 a.m., picked up from a life raft by a Seahawk helicopter. The $92 million F-35 lies 3,000 feet below the surface, but the black box contains all the radar frequencies and targeting data Venezuela used that morning. In Washington, the Pentagon confirms the engagement lasted 38 minutes, the shortest and most decisive confrontation in the Western Hemisphere since 1989. Within hours, the global media exploded. Venezuelan base destroyed, 185 dead, 2 fighter jets destroyed. The day American steel spoke, at the United Nations, diplomats argued, but one fact remained unaltered: the United States did not fire first. It just responded, quickly and accurately. A Caribbean sunset. The USS Valor glided across the calm sea, the flames reflecting off the scorched deck. On deck, Admiral Hale told his crew, "Let the world remember this day." Recklessness has a price, and today, Venezuela paid dearly. The ocean swallowed the echo, but the message remained. In modern warfare, arrogance is not strength, it is the trigger. As the sun set, the Caribbean reflected the calm sky. The USS Valor steamed west, its deck black with smoke from 10 missiles. The sailors were exhausted, but silent. On the bridge, Admiral Marcus Hale stood against the wind, the sunset reflecting off the calm water. The same sea, which had been on fire just hours before, was now calm. The operation ended, the aftermath began. Venezuela lost 2 Su-30 Mk-2Vs, a $350 million base, 185 elite soldiers, all because of a moment of pride and a bad decision. The battle lasted less than 40 minutes, but it rewrote the military balance of the entire region. For Washington, this was proof of discipline and precision. No civilian casualties, no escalation, just proof that when attacked, the United States can respond with speed and power unmatched anywhere. In Caracas, the streets were filled with panic and mourning. State television went dark for 12 hours. President Alejandro Rojas's words of defiance now echoed in the ruins of the José Antonio base. Across the globe, military experts replayed each frame, calling it the day technology crushed tradition. As night fell, the USS Valor radar scanned the empty sea, not for enemies, but for learning. Admiral Hale turned to his officers and said quietly, almost to himself, "Strength is not measured by how loud it roars, but by how calmly it strikes." In that silence, the message was sealed for history. America's wings may be challenged, but never broken. Your support helps us give voice to those who fought, who fell, and were never heard.